So here we have, it says no image, and I want to see if it's actually no image, no backlight, or no CPU. So it turns on. I could feel that the CPU is getting a little warm. So the first thing I want to do is see if the CPU is getting power. Because remember, a lot of the times when people say they have no image, what they actually mean is that there's no CPU. There's no CPU, there's no image because there's no CPU, but that doesn't mean we should be troubleshooting image. That means we need to troubleshoot no CPU. So I'm going to go over here and try to find the CPU vCore rail, which is PPVCC SO CPU. And I'm getting 1.852 volts on CPU vCore, which means that the CPU is turning on. So the next thing that I'm going to want to do is check the LCD connector. So here we go, LCD connector here. Now on the LCD connector, we're going to have a bunch of different stuff. So first we have backlight, but remember backlight comes after image, so I'm not going to check backlight first. We have an I2C line. It's going to be going to the screen. We have the image DisplayPort circuit over here, which is going to send the image data to the screen. Also, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to defective screen cables, this is something that I get asked a lot. When you are talking about LVDS, which is the old signaling protocol for screens, you could have one of the lines be a little intermittent and you would get a funny looking image. With DisplayPort, 99.99999% of the times, when you have an issue on any one of those display signal lines, you will get no picture at all. So if you're getting kind of a fuzzy image on your screen or an image that kind of goes in and out or anything like that, most likely it is not an issue that has anything to do with the cable. It's either a bad screen or a bad board. But I just want to destroy your hopes there. If you have hopes and dreams of it being a cheap fix or an easy fix because it's just the cable, I just want to destroy your hopes and dreams right there and let you know, even back when LVDS was popular, it was rarely the cable. And now that EDP, which is not emotionally disturbed person, but rather means DisplayPort inside of a laptop, now that we're using this protocol mostly, it's almost never the cable. Just wanted to trash your hopes there, just in case you had any. Now, the next thing we're going to have that's important here is this over here, which is going to send 5 volts to our screen circuit. So over here, we have PP5ESO. This chip is going to take the 5 volts and send it onto the screen. You're going to have a current sensing resistor here, so that something can sense how much power the LCD is using. And then you have an inductor over here, which is going to act two things. A, it's going to act as a fuse. So if somebody plugs something in improperly or there's water, it'll blow rather than the computer blowing up. And secondly, it's also going to slow the initial flow of current because the LCD takes up a lot of current and you don't want to blow the circuit or torture the computer. So this slows it down a teeny tiny bit. So on pins 28, 29, and 30 over here, I'm going to measure that and let's see what voltage we get on pins 28, 29, and 30. As you can see here, we're getting 5.1 volts, which is close enough. That's what I expect. So the last thing we're going to measure here is backlight, because most likely we are getting an image at this point, and the machine is turning on and has a CPU, but it just doesn't have a backlight. So we're going to measure at the backlight capacitors over here and see what's present. So when I measure at those caps, we get 0.012 volts. So as you can see here, it looks like there was an attempt at cleaning what appears to be some liquid damage right near this chip, which, what do you know, is the backlight chip. Okay, so we're just going to wait for my hot air station to get hot. At least this mount is better than Jess's seasick version. Okay, so the Jess's mount is annoying because it constantly is moving, but it's much easier to move around the table. Like in terms of actual workflow, see, she has this one. So she has this. So Jessa has the same microscope mount that Jason has over here, which you probably can't see because of the Zamo. But see this? Like I want you to go out of the way, go out of the way. I want you to come here, it shows up. You want to go up. This is beautiful. In terms of being able to freely move it around, this is awesome. The one thing I don't like about this mount, obviously, is the fact that it's constantly jiggling because it's designed to be moved around. And because it's designed to be moved around, that naturally means that it's going to be sensitive, since it's not clamped into anything, to those types of desk movements, which makes it very frustrating to work with. But it is nice to move around the desk, whereas this one, you have to constantly move clamps and shit, and it's fucking annoying. It's going to be annoying either way. It's just a level of annoying. How do I subscribe? I don't think you can because I'm not a Twitch partner. Twitch have this jealous thing where they won't let you become a partner if you stream to other platforms simultaneously. So I never partnered because I don't want, no. I don't want to sign away my content like that unless I'm making a lot of money. If somebody wants me to be exclusive to their platform and they're willing to give me like $5,000 or $10,000 a month, that's cool. But yeah, if you're just giving me like cents of ad revenue, then no, 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 no deal, no deal, no deal. Okay. If you would move, you couldn't afford the new place you were moving to, right? Yep, pretty much. How you doing, Nitrocaster? Yeah, I am saving up to move to a mansion on a magic mountain someday. I am not saving up to get a better store, which will bring me zero new business. Say goodbye, corroded backlight chip. It very rarely, if ever, is the actual backlight chip. So you'll see, once I replace this, it's probably going to wind up being something else like the screen. But we'll see. Actually, never mind. I take that back. I take that back. Okay, so let's see. We've got something that's pretty corroded here. It's almost never the backlight driver on Retinas. You guys have noticed. It's always the LCD connector or something like that. It's never the LED driver. So this is a rare case. So if we look over here, you'll see that the line that is corroded is U7700 pin 11. And if we go over here, pin 11 is going to be the pin that allows Q7700 to open. So here we have the backlight fuse, and this is going to be 12.56 volts from PP bus G3 hot on the backlight fuse. After the backlight fuse, let's just make sure you can see what I see. Good. After the backlight fuse, you're going to have a current sensing resistor. Now the idea here is there's going to be a very, very tiny drop in voltage across this resistor, barely noticeable. But the drop in voltage is going to be directly proportional to how much current or how much power the circuit in front of it is using. So U7700 is going to measure the voltage difference between the beginning of this current sensing resistor and the end, and use that to determine how much current or power the entire circuit is using. And if it's using too much, it's going to turn it off. This is a really nice feature because what this does is it keeps this fuse from blowing, it keeps the LCD connector from burning to pieces if the screen or the screen cable go bad. Now, this transistor is controlled by U7700. This here is a P-channel MOSFET. So this is a P-channel MOSFET, meaning that in order for this to open, in order for this to allow PPVIN SOSW LCD backlight to go over to the other side and make its way to the backlight circuit, in order for this to open, the voltage in the gate, which is pin 3, needs to be lower than the voltage on pin 4. Now, R7701 ensures that the voltage on the gate is the same as the voltage in the source at all times, meaning that this will never open. However, if we put a second resistor under it, it then becomes a voltage divider if this resistor goes to ground. So if this resistor goes to ground, now we have two resistors in series, and one of them going to ground. This will be a voltage divider, meaning that what is in the middle point over here, what's beginning at the second resistor, will be a lower voltage than what's at the top. However, this does not have a path to ground. It has a path to U7700. U7700 will decide whether pin 11 has a path to ground based on the information it receives from the current sensing resistor. If the current sensing resistor has a huge voltage gap between it, it's going to say, no, we're using way too much power. Q7700, close. Do not allow this to open. Do not send voltage through to our backlight circuit. And this voltage, this here is required to send the voltage from this voltage divider to ground so that this can act as a voltage divider. Without R7702 having a path to ground, R770, this resistor may not even, doesn't even have to be here. There's just no point for it. R7701 is going to take the voltage from the source, put it on the gate, and since the voltage in the source and the gate will be the same, Q7700 will never open. R7702 has to have a path to ground in order to lower the voltage at this point, which it will get if the SD pin of U7700 goes to ground like it's supposed to when it tells the backlight circuit to turn on. But it can't do that because if you look over here, you'll notice that that pin is completely corroded. So as you can see here, the pad for SD is burned. And we're going to try to revive that pad without having to run a jumper. And it looks like that may be possible here. We're going to go around and do that. Alright, so I'm going to add some lead solder here since it's going to make it easier to remove the lead free that's there. And then we're going to wick. I learned how to wick from Jessa at Practical Board Repair School before going off and starting my own tutoring service at the store. Jessa said, I want you to be successful with everything you do. And for that, as a thank you for the time you spend teaching, I'm going to show you how I fix every motherboard here at iPad Rehab. And she told me not to tell anybody that it was a secret, but I've decided that I can't leave it as a secret anymore. I need to tell all of you. And that the secret to Jess's success has been that she wicks every pad on every BGA IC that she ever replaces. Even if it doesn't have solder on it already, she wicks it for good luck. And that genuinely changed my life. It changed the way I do business. It changed the way I look at board repairs. It changed the way I look at my tools. It was one of those eye-opening moments that I will never, ever take for granted, and I thank her so much for it. Okay, so we're going to clean the area. The area is nice and clean. The chip that was required was U7700, which is an LP8548B1SQ. And if you wanted to be able to find a chip like that, and you didn't know where to go, you can check out this website here, which I'm going to shamelessly keep promoting. Here we go. Is this it? B1SQ. Yeah, so you could type in the name of your chip here, LP8548, and it'll show up. And the cool part, if you just want to search by the board, so we're on an 8204924 over here, you can type that in, and it'll show you all the chips that are compatible with that model motherboard. And you can hit next, and it'll continue on to the next page. I am a shill. I am a fucking shill, and I'm proud of it. I will shill my website until the day I die. So, let's tin our pads. I'm going to fix that little mess in the bottom left shortly. As you can see, this board really likes to absorb heat. If I try to touch the center pad with just the tip of the iron rather than the elbow of it, and when I say elbow, by the way, this is the elbow, much larger, and this is the tip. It doesn't allow me much ability to solder the center pad. Okay, so let's get ourselves a chip. You know what's funny is I'm actually going to grab it off a donor board because I don't want to dip into my own stock that I'd be selling. I am that cheap, yes. And we're going to get that nice looking chip soldered on the board from my beautiful donor. Here we go. Now once it's I made it dance a little just to make sure it's aligned. Once it's dry, I'm gonna push down on it and then heat it up one more time just to make it nice and flat on the board. Make sure it's making good contact. Add some flux before I do that. So I don't want it to move from side to side, as Ariana would say, but I want it to just go straight down. See, the fact that solder is popping out means that it wasn't perfectly flat, which It's not going to be unless I get a perfect amount of solder on the center pads, which I never do. So now we're just going to get rid of the excess on the sides, and we'll be good. So now this is where the fine tip comes in handy on this. And let's see what we get. Light up. Light up, you bastard. Light up, you mofo. Alright, let's turn on the meter, since I think we're not getting a light. Sad. So sad. Okay, are we getting V-core? Here, turning on. Screen turning on. Screen is turning on. Backlight turning on. Backlight not turning on. Alright, that's my chip. So let's take a look at this area. So I want to see if pin 4 is getting 12 volts. That's supposed to be the input to the backlight circuit. And then I want to see if pin 3 is getting 5 or 6 volts. And we check pin 4. So voltage is, hey, range. Okay, so it looks like we're getting voltage into our backlight circuit. Now pin 3 is going to tell us if it's being told to open. Okay, and it's not being told to open. So U7700 is not pulling this down. So you have a couple of options. U7700 is not pulling R7702 to ground. R7702 is blown, or C7700 is shorted. Or this is shorted internally, which is causing this to always be there, even if this is pulling it to ground. So let's measure the resistance between pins 4 and 3 on Q7700. So in order to measure resistance, I have to unplug power here. So we're going to do this between the pin 4 and 3. So it's 80.6 kiloohms, which completely ruins the opportunity that R7701 is blown, Q7700 is internally shorted, or C7700 being bad. Now let's measure R7702, which is most likely going, let's see, where's R7702? That's going to be C7700, R7702 over here. So if this is not blown, then this is just going to be a really sad case of board repair. R7702 is 63.4 kiloohms, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. Now let's see if it's making its way to pin 11 on the IC like it's supposed to or not. Now the resistance between this and this is 0, so that's making its way to the IC. Okay, so now let's, well, this is just some more shit. SMC lid. So if the computer thinks it's closed, the backlight's not going to open. So let's check SMC lid. SMC lid. Okay, we're turning it on. SMC lid should be 3.4 volts. If not, it's going to think that it's closed. And we're going to put it in voltage mode. And it's 3.39, which means the computer does not think it's closed, so it thinks that the computer's open. Which means we... U7700. Are you getting voltage at pins 5 and pin 18? Pin 5 and pin 18. You sure are. And pin 18 up here. 5 volts, exactly like it's supposed to be. Now we could check our current sense traces. Perhaps our current sense traces are blown. So as you can see, the current sense resistor is going to attach to pins 9 and 10 here. So current sense resistor, R7700, which is this. Let's see, where are you? Yeah. These two traces here. So let's turn off power. Let's check the resistance between the traces. Do you go to here? Of course you do. And there's the second current sense line over here. Go to pin 4. Of course you do. Ah, fuck me. And this, of course, goes to here. And that, of course, goes to here. F me. Huh. Backlight enable on pin 17. Backlight enable on pin 17. Well, backlight enable, please stand up. Backlight enable R is going to be over here. And that's 3.3 volts, exactly as it's supposed to be. PWM keyboard. I don't give a fuck about the keyboard. SDA and SCL. Okay, so these are I2C lines. Where do these go? Connects to Jerry. What? Zach from Jerry Rig Everything is in the 820-4924? Connects to Jerry. Okay, so we need to bother Jerry Rig Everything. Somebody get Jerry Rig Everything on the phone and ask him how I fix this piece of shit computer. All right, R775. Where is this? Let's see. 15, 16. Where the hell does this go? Okay, that's going to go... Okay, that's an SDA line to the screen itself. So that's an I2C line that goes directly to the screen. So it has to talk to the screen. Okay, so Jerry is the screen. I thought Jerry was a YouTube personality that recorded YouTube videos. So I have to measure between here. Dear God, this is annoying. So you have to hold the board up like this and do this. Oh yeah, talk about annoying shit. Okay, so you on this side. Okay, that connects. That's fine. Next is the next resistor. I'm just sliding it across the LCD connector. Hell if I'm counting pins. Okay, so they make contact just fine. So let's go over what we've done here. Because this is kind of making me sad. I'm getting defeated by a no backlight. I'm glad that there's only 90 people watching this. All right, so this is where Nitrocaster gets to come in and be a hero and solve it for me. There's an upside to having intelligent viewers, and I'm going to milk that as long as I can. So, this is our LED driver section. The fuse is fine. The current sensing traces attach perfectly to our LED driver. The current sense resistor is fine. This transistor was not opening before because the voltage divider that opens the transistor did not have a path to ground. R7702 did not have a path to ground because U7700 had a burned pin 11, and the pad was also burned in the board. We repealed and replaced U7700 as well as repairing the pad at pin 11, and yet Q7700 still does not open. C7700 is not shorted. Q7700 is not shorted internally. R7702 and R7701 measure proper values. We are getting backlight enable on pin 17. The current sense traces to the current sense resistor are fine, and the traces between the backlight data lines over here to the screen are both perfectly fine. The next thing that I have to check, which I didn't check, are these pull-ups over here, which I didn't look at, but I'm fairly certain that these two pull-ups are fine, and that 99% chance is just that this is just being a troll. Oh, and we all, not to forget, we also have 5 volts at pins 5 and 18 of the LCD connector, and we do not have a short to grounds anywhere around this area. So, you know what may be possible? What if I have a short to ground? Oh, here's what I didn't check. Here's what I didn't check. So, after the transistor, do we have a short to ground because these capacitors go to ground? So, I checked for a short to ground at output, and checking for a short to grounds here would not show me if there's a short to grounds here because there's a diode there. Ooh, what if this is it? What if C7710, C7711, or C7712 are shorted, and that's why it's not working? Ooh. All right, so let's check the output of Q7700. I am happy. I am excited. Oh boy. Oh boy. This could be it. This could be it. And if this isn't it, then I'm chucking this board at a wall. I mean, I'm not chucking this board at a wall because then you'll have to explain it to them. I almost got in trouble. Okay, so this is, I think it's going to be C7710, 11, or 12, and that the reason that we cannot see if that's the problem is because it's hiding behind a diode on this side, and it's hiding behind a transistor, which, as you can see, has a diode inside of it on this side. So let's check at L7710 and see if we can blame the coil, because as you all know, it's always the coil. So on pin 1 of the coil, do we have a short to ground? So we're going to have to turn the board right side up again. And that is a funny looking coil. I don't even know where to measure on that fucking coil. So we're going to measure on the FET instead because it's the same thing. Let's see. Where's C7710 actually? C7710. Show me C7710. All right, so that is this capacitor. We're going to measure on pin 1. And I'm going to pray that this is shorted to ground. Because if it's not shorted to ground, then I'm out of ideas with this one until Nitrocaster answers me. 1, 2. Oh, you piece of shit. You're not shorted. You're not even close to shorted. Look. You were my hope. Lame. So lame. So lame. Sad. What haven't I checked? I didn't check the 5-volt pull-ups for the data line for I2C, but I mean, who are we kidding? That's going to be fine. That's going to be fine. I might as well check them just for the fuck of it. J8300, that's going to be on pins 3 and 4, right? And the only corrosion on this entire board was on backlight SD on the LED driver, which was totally fixed. Perhaps I2C doesn't happen because of corroded paths. We measured the path between the screen connector and the I2C line of the LED driver already. Of 4.8 and R7753. One side is 5. The other side is 0. Yeah, 0. Okay. R7753. R7753. That's the last thing that we didn't check. So I checked these resistors, and I checked to make sure that this signal was making its way from the LED driver to the LCD connector. But R7753 over here has 0, which means that something is pulling down that line. Or R7753 is not 2-point-something kiloohms. Let's see. Are you open? Maybe you're open. Or kiloohms range. Kiloohms range is fine. So I'm expecting that resistor to be 2 kiloohms, and I get 1.5, which is close enough. And on the other one, I get, same thing. All right, so now let's check resistance to ground on each side. Resistance to ground on R7752 on the data line side is 3 kiloohms, and on the other side is 0 ohms. That doesn't sound right to me, but that's with the screen plugged in. So let's see what happens if I unplug the screen, because perhaps the screen that I was given is actually a bad screen. That would be funny if every screen I've tried today was bad. So let me unplug the screen. Okay, so the screen has been unplugged. And we're going to do the same thing. And we still get 0 ohms. Okay, that's no good. That's really bad. That's pretty... So what could short my data line to ground like that? Let's see. Yeah, we have 1.6 ohms to ground without something plugged in. Well, the SCL line... No, the SCL line is 3 kiloohms to ground. It's the SDA line that's shorted. So look, SCL line is 3 kiloohms, and the SDA line is shorted. But really, what gives this a path to ground? Let's see. So where does this go? So if I click here, This goes to this resistor, which goes to the backlight chip. This, oh, son of a bitch. You fucking piece of, there's a cap to ground on that line. God, really? Really, Apple? Really? You're going to put a cap to ground on a line that's that important and not include it in the fucking schematic over here? Are you serious? You pricks. All right. So I2C backlight SDA right over here. See this? I2C backlight SDA. This line, it has a fucking capacitor to ground. Right over here. Right over here. C8358. And it's, tell me you have that on the LCD side, you pieces of shit. C8358. C8358. Ah! You pricks! You assholes! Why? Ah, god damn it. It's over here. Okay. C8358. Let's find you. Oh, I'm such a fucking smooth brain if this is the problem. This is gonna be so... Oh man, this is gonna be embarrassing. This is gonna be embarrassing. Why? Why don't you put this on the LED driver page where I can easily see it? Okay, so C8358 is going to be this thing over here, and there's a solder ball coming out of it. Look at that. There's a solder ball coming out of you. You prick. You fucking prick. Oh man. Oh man, that's bad. That's bad. That's reputation destroying right there. That's reputation destroying right there. Okay, so where? Oh man, it's not on the same side of the board as the LCD connector. It's not next to the LED driver. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere. Just like here. What's up, bitch? Get the sucker fucking piece of shit. Get the fuck off my board. And you know what the funny thing is? Of all the shit that we checked, we didn't check that. I checked the resistors in between the LCD driver and the LCD connector, but I never checked the pull-up resistors or their resistance to ground. What a noob mistake! That is so noobish. That is so incredibly noobish. Oh, that's fucking embarrassing. That's fucking embarrassing. All right, so we're going to plug this in, and obviously it's going to work now. I'm not putting... That cap can suck it. Let's see. You're not going back on today. Oh, man. It's really interesting when it's not in front of your eyes how you just don't see it or think of it. Like, look at... Of course we're going to get a light now. But, like, when you look at this over here, like, it's easy to not have this show up in your head. Let's just see if there's a light first before I celebrate. Wait, no light. Why am I celebrating? Voltage. Oh, God damn it. Voltage. Yeah, still no light. Screen. Screen is 5. Backlight is 0. Okay, so we still don't have a light. So let's no. Let's see if we, at least removing that capacitor, fixed our resistance issue. So if I were to check for resistance to ground, I can't get excited there. So if I were to check for resistance to ground at the SDA line, which was shorted, yeah, we haven't fixed our problem. 1.6 ohms of resistance to ground, we haven't fixed our problem. Where else does this go? So this goes to LCD connector, and that's it. It goes to LCD connector. This resistor, and there. So what else could it be? What else could be shorting this line to ground? What else could it be? So we remove the cap. We've removed the cap. The cap is not there. And yet we still have a short. And this is without display. Let's just keep in mind that the display is not plugged in right now. And that's 1.6 ohms to ground you're seeing there. So I'm going to remove R7751 so that I can see what side the short is on. Is the short on the LED driver side, or is the short on the screen and the system side? So let's remove R7751 to figure that out. So R7751 is here. Let's take that out. SCL has no... SCL is totally different. SCL is 3 kiloohms to ground, which is totally acceptable. All right, so let's remove R7751. This will allow us to determine where the short circuit is in the board. Come on, hot air station. You can do it, hot air station. We're just going to take you and put you aside on top of the fan. And that's already gone just the moment that I put it down. So let's see which side our short circuit is on the backlight SDA line. Is it on the LED driver side over here, or is it on the screen sign over here? So on the LED driver side, it's 1.5 ohm, and on the system side, it's 6.7 kiloohms, which means that the LED driver that I took off a donor board is actually no good. Most likely. So that's actually a bad LED driver. Okay. Now this is just starting to get sad. Let's... Is it the soldering of the LED driver that did it? Maybe it's the soldering of the LED driver that did it. .3 ohms. Okay, let's remove this LED driver altogether. Go away, ball. Now that that's been removed, let's check. Not shorted to ground. Okay. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. I'm going to check on a donor and make sure that on the donor board that I'm going to steal this from now, that I don't have a short to ground on that pin. And say 65 kiloohms. And on my donor, there's 65 kiloohms there. And open line and 56 kiloohms on the SDA line. Okay. Let's do this again. So I know that on the board that I'm stealing this from, that the board that I'm stealing this from has an LED driver that's not shorted. Good to know. So the cap wasn't bad. I blamed the cap for no reason. I'm not apologizing to it either. If the cap expects an apology, it's come to the wrong place. That wasn't good what I did to the center pad. That is a good little filtering cap. Yeah, but I don't want to apologize to it. I know it's wrong. I should apologize to it. But I'm not in the mood today to apologize to the capacitor. Okay. That's all. That's all you get, center pad. Okay, we're going to remove the chip from the donor. Take our time removing the chip from the donor. Yeah. Come on, stay in place. Go back where you're supposed to be. Now let's measure resistance to ground on each line. Okay, over 20 kiloohms for SCL. 29 kiloohms for SDA. So it seems like I just had a bad LED driver the entire time from the donor. Now let's see what happens if I put my resistor back on. Come on, you lead-free shit. Melt, you lead-free shit. Alright, you don't want to melt. Look at the size of the soldering iron I'm using for a 0201 component. If this is not the definition of being an idiot, I don't know what is. Alright. Come on, you lead-free shit. Get my resistor in there. I don't have the patience to change my iron right now. Just melt. Come on. There you go. Let my resistor in, you fucker. Okay. Now, what's interesting is that cap. I wonder if that cap having a solder ball there was actually short. I wonder if you short that line to ground, if it actually kills the LED driver. Because that's the only thing I can imagine. Because even after I removed it, my short was still there. And that cap, that little filter cap, that had a solder blob next to it. So I'm not going to say that that cap is totally innocent here. That cap may have been killing my LED drivers. All right, let's see what we get. Ha! A backlight! Finally! A light! On the screen! Okay, so what did we learn here? What did you learn from all this? That a bad LED driver can make your life a complete living hell, and as it just did for the last hour or so for me, as well as the cap So the cap was probably killing all the LED drivers that I was putting on. So if you short that line of ground, maybe it can kill the LED driver. That's the only thing I can imagine at this point. That's really all I can imagine at this point. That's... Wow. This has to be the longest no backlight since the Jessa one where I had to run a wire all the way around the board. That was not fun. That was not fun at all. But at least it's over, and it works, and I can bill for it, which is really all that I care about. If you want to avoid my misery and buy LED drivers that actually work, rather than take them off of donor boards like I've been doing cheaply, have you checked out our site here where you can just buy LED drivers? You can just go here and you can type in the model number of your board. You can go LP8548 and you'll find it. In the schematic, the LED driver is going to show up here as U7700. So you can just go up here and type in U7700 and it just shows up. You can click it, and if you need support of any type on any one of these types of board level issues, you can just go to our site here where we will help walk you through any of these board level issues, and people like myself and Duke who have made these mistakes a million times over will happily help you and walk you through your problems. You can click on here and you can see issues that have been solved, issues that have not been solved, and all sorts of fun stuff. And we'll tell you what to measure, we'll tell you where to look, and oftentimes we'll solve your problem. So that's it for today. As always, I hope that you learned something.